Jen. I'm the clinical director of the Masonic Center for Youth and Families. And I'm here with my colleague.
Yeah, and thank you. And I'm Jodi, Mikel. I'm the project coordinator for the center. I have been with the Masons for about 4 years. Previously, I was a social worker at Masonic Assistance. Everyone might be familiar with the back of your card. I was a phone-based social worker there for about 2 years, and then moved to San Francisco to the project coordinator to help track and launch some of our mental health programs. So we're doing a lot of outreach, particularly now during the health crisis going on, to touch base with different lodges, different members, to let everyone know of this added benefit of your brotherhood, of what's available to the Masons as well as their families.
Absolutely, and we certainly appreciate this. It's a huge kind of that time. It's everybody was kind of like looking for, I may not tell people, but certainly looking for like a resource just in case we need it. And so when I saw your email, I was personally touched, having daughters ages of 11, 15, and 20. I'm like, wow, this couldn't come at a better time. Might be programs that you have that we'll see in this presentation tonight that they didn't know about. So I certainly deeply appreciate you guys taking the time on a Wednesday night to do this.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're happy to share. You know, it's so needed in these times. And, you know, even if it's somebody outside of Masonry, we also serve the greater community as well. And so letting the greater community know that we're also here for them. So we're happy to tell you a little bit more about our services.
Awesome.
And if it's something that speaks to you or family or someone you might know, feel free to pass it along.
What Jodi and I hope to do, as Jodi was mentioning, is give you guys an introduction to what MCYAF is all about. And we'll talk about our services, and most of our services, you know, we're gonna be talking about it as if we were open. And towards the end, we're gonna spend some time highlighting our telehealth program, which is the main way that we're reaching out to Masons and their families right now. So I thought I'd put up where we fit within the greater organization. So some of you may have heard of the Masonic homes before. Has anyone heard of the Masonic homes before?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So the Masonic Homes is the overarching nonprofit organization that we are a part of. So the homes, of course, have 2 sites, one in Union City and one in Covina down in Southern California. So those two campuses, of course, are part of the Masonic Homes organization. MOS, or Masonic Outreach Services, which Jodi just referenced, is also a part of the Masonic Homes organization, and we are a part of the Masonic Homes organization. So in this picture you'll see on the left, that's actually our facility, our center in San Francisco, and the one on the right is in Covina, and the one in Covina is actually on the Covina campus of Masonic Homes. So it's just to give you an idea, we're part of a greater organization.
So we serve families, we serve children, young adults, teenagers, Masons, partners, wives, widows. We are also here for Masons throughout their lifespan. So we're seeing a lot of, you know, particularly in different parts of the state, as members of Masonry are aging, different needs that are coming up for different age groups and different populations. So we're serving Masons again throughout the lifespan, including on both of our campuses in Union City and Covina. One of our programs that we're working on now on both campuses is virtual support for the seniors as they're moving through our current shelter in place, and how that's affecting them when they're not able to connect with their families, or in some instances where their spouse or partner is in a skilled nursing facility. And so maybe for the first time in the duration of their time together, they're separated. And so how can we help to provide support, again, throughout the continuum of the lifespan? We have, as Sheening mentioned and showed, we have a clinic in San Francisco and in Covina, both on the campuses, where we provide counseling and psychological services. In San Francisco, we provide assessment services, therapeutic counseling services, and also educational therapy. And in Covina, we have counseling and therapeutic services. So one of our, the way that our program is funded is through an endowment through the Masons. And so we are able to provide affordable and high quality, accessible mental health services, again, to the community Masons and Masons throughout their lifespan. An added benefit of your Masonry brotherhood is being able to have the first 3 sessions for free of no cost. And the endowment also ensures that no Masonic affiliated family member will ever be turned away if there's an inability to pay. So we do have a sliding fee scale, but that these services are always here for you. And again, no Masonic affiliated member would be turned away.
Awesome. Comforting to know. Thank you.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah, and we will we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end, just so you guys know. So what families can expect when they call is, of course, a kind and welcoming greeting. You know, we believe that it takes a great deal of courage to reach out and ask for some support and ask for help. And so we try to treat everyone, regardless of Masonic affiliation, with respect and open arms. It's really our mission and our goal to guide folks that reach out to us and their families, whatever their needs might be. So typically what would happen is the first conversation would be with one of our access coordinators, and the person who's calling would be asked to just share a little bit about why they're calling and what they're hoping to get out of connecting with us. And then what follows that is usually an in-person intake with one of our licensed counselors. When we do it via telehealth, and we'll get back to that a little bit later, we will be doing those intakes actually via Zoom or via phone, whatever is more convenient for you. There may be times when we might determine through the call that services from different organizations might be a better fit, and we'll make those referrals at that time. One of the keys to our work is confidentiality. So what that means is that everything from the first point of contact throughout the work that you may do with MCYAF is held in confidence. There are only a few exceptions by law to that, but otherwise your privacy is guaranteed.
So what you can expect from some of our services, as Sheening just mentioned about, our initial step is with our access coordinators. We'll work with your schedule, your family's schedule. We know everyone has a full plate these days. And assuming that we can resume in person very soon, an intake appointment would be done in San Francisco. And again, during this time, we're able to have the support of Zoom to do these virtual intake assessments as we're getting started with a new client. Our therapists will work with the families or individuals to make recommendations as needed. So getting to know what the needs of the family are, and to hear really what's bringing you into therapy today and what you're hoping to work on, either collaboratively as a family or if needed, and at times the therapist might recommend meeting one-on-one as well. Our therapists are all licensed, either licensed marriage family therapists or licensed clinical social workers. Our assessment team of psychologists also provide therapeutic support as well, and are trained in a variety of modalities and evidence-based practices to really help guide and navigate the treatment.
So as Jodi was talking, we offer a wide variety of different services. Our kind of bread and butter is what's listed here as therapeutic services or counseling. And so again, this is either one-on-one, family counseling, couples therapy, using what we call a multidisciplinary approach, which means that all of our licensed clinicians are trained with different skill sets and different modalities so that they can basically meet the needs of a Mason or a spouse or a partner or a child or a teenager or a family member with what they might need in that particular moment. There's not really a wrong reason to try out counseling, and I'll talk a little bit more about that perhaps towards the end. But just to give you some idea, some common things that folks will come in to talk about are challenges with managing anxiety, sometimes challenges around mood, maybe like feeling a bit down or depressed. Things that are really applicable right now, like transitions. Transitions in life, unexpected transitions are things that families oftentimes come in to get a little bit extra support from us. Assessment services involve what we call psych testing. And usually the questions for the kids and adolescents are around potential learning differences, potential trying to figure out why there might be changes in mood or changes in behavior. Sometimes we test for things like potential of being somewhere on the spectrum or the autism spectrum for younger kids. So it's a very specialized service that fortunately we're able to provide on site. It's kind of a rarity. We also do workshops that on various different topics. One of our topics in the past was caring for a aging family member or a senior in the family. We have an educational therapist on staff that helps families where their children might be having some struggles with school or have had a recently diagnosed learning difference, and helping families navigate both school and home and how to support their child best. We'll talk more about telehealth and how these services are available through our telehealth platform. And lastly, we also run groups. So sometimes we will run groups. We've actually ran groups both at the senior home and in the clinic setting before. So depending on the population and what the need might be, we might run group therapy or group counseling, which is usually small group, so 10 people or less.
And to add on, if I may, Sheening, about groups, we just also completed a 2-week series last week, I believe it was, for the DeMolay and some of the other youth groups in Southern California. At their request, they wanted some support for their members, and so it was a pretty successful and first-time approach for them using a virtual group. So there is different ways to accommodate. So to follow up on telehealth, so telehealth is definitely a new area that has been just a significant increase with our current health crisis. And it's an opportunity for, as we're all working remotely and have this new way of living, to still receive that support for a variety of reasons. As Sheening mentioned, there's no wrong reason to come to therapy. And so whether it's to help on a smaller scale, navigating working from home, house full of children, how do I get everything done, to have that support, maybe it would take just a few sessions checking in from the privacy of your home. Our telehealth platform has that capability. We use Zoom, which everyone is now familiar with, which is HIPAA compliant. So we are able to uphold the confidentiality standards and requirements. And the other piece of it that is so remarkable is that we're able to reach community members, particularly Masons, that otherwise wouldn't have access to supportive services. I can reference my time when I was the Masonic assistant social worker, and so many times there were phone calls coming in from Masons on the very, very northern end of the state in these rural communities with no access to services. And it was in the development of telehealth that we were able to provide connection and to support to them and to help them either connect back with their lodges through telehealth, but now in a way that is helping with support and guidance. So as I mentioned before, you're able to have this wonderful benefit of your Masonic membership of 3 free sessions, and then determining whether you would like to move forward, whether that's something that is a family approach or a couple or individual. That's definitely something that is not available. And I know Sheening and I have a long history of working in mental health to have that benefit. So it really is just this wonderfully accessible resource to have. And so, a one-to-one session would look very similar to this photo.
So we have a couple photos here of our, after this slide. So how do you access us? So we have both a local to San Francisco phone number that you can call. We also have a toll-free number. I'm happy to provide these numbers in the Zoom chat if anyone wants to copy them down, as well as the email address. And Gabriel, of course, we can provide this for you to disseminate as well. So it would start with a phone call or an email, and then we would just kind of proceed from there. This is a sample of what one of our counseling rooms looks like. So we're obviously set up for all ages. We have toys and games for play therapy, which is what we usually do with kids that are younger than 11. And we try to have a warm and inviting environment. Just another sample of our counseling space. And we're trying to duplicate this via Zoom, but we haven't quite gotten there yet. But with virtual background, maybe we will.
Yeah, we should do. Yeah.
And these are just the addresses of our 2 sites.
Mm-hmm. And Gabriel, I can also send those out to you too, so that you have those.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll send those out.
Awesome.
I wanted to pause here and ask everybody if anyone has any questions. And no question is too small to ask.
So I'm sorry, I showed here late. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Jeremy?
Yeah, this is Jeremy, and I was. These are services for everyone?
Yes, so these services are for everyone. In particular, we're speaking to you because, of course, we love to serve Masons and their families, but we are open to the public. As Jodi and I mentioned, there are specific benefits that Masons have. Right now, probably the most important is the 3 free counseling sessions. And then after that, if counseling continued after the first 3, then Masons receive a discount on services. In addition to the fact that we have the sliding scale, of course, based on ability to pay.
Thank you. Yeah, that answers the question.
You're welcome.
So with that, I do have a couple of questions. So the first one was, have you guys noticed an increase of workload since kind of, I don't know, I guess you would say highlighting the campaign of the MCYAF? I know this is one of the first times we've heard about it, and I'm thinking that the Grand Lodge, California, or the brothers within that organization are taking advantage of such a awesome type of program and resource. Have you noticed an increase in that?
I could answer it, or Jodi, do you want to answer it?
Go ahead, Sheening. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think we have had an uptick in Masons coming in and asking about telehealth. I think overall, there's definitely an increased need, and I think that well, I'm just going to advertise it this way. I think that anyone who is interested in checking it out, right, or checking out our services or giving us a try, it's best to be thinking about that, fairly soon, because I imagine as the weeks go on, that not just us, but other counseling centers are likely to get more and more referrals, right? Which makes complete sense, because folks that might not have normally sought out our services are now facing these unexpected challenges and just wanting some extra support, which is a very legitimate and absolutely perfect reason, actually, to come in and give our services a try.
The secondary projection for an increase in therapeutic services is as things start to reopen. And right now, as I'm sure as everyone knows, our essential workers, our frontline workers are going at rapid speed, right? There's no time to stop and to take care of yourself and to take care of your needs. And so the projection and prediction is that there will be this influx as that curve bends and goes down, and opening up more opportunities to provide those supportive resources. So there will be a influx of need, yeah.
And what is the current wait list as far as like a person for an intake assessment?
It's a great question. So our wait list is pretty short right now. But of course, it's based on, any given snapshot, like on a given week, there may be more availability than another week. But I think I could say that the wait list is less than a week or 2. And of course, if there was an immediate need, then Jodi, I think I speak on behalf of the organization, we will find a way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially for Masons and their families.
Do you have prescribing doctors there for mental health?
That's a great question, Jeremy. So the one thing we don't have is we don't have a prescribing psychiatrist. We do have a psychiatrist who is a consultant for us. And so she talks with us about different issues around medication and helps us think about whether medication might be helpful for someone that we're working with. But she doesn't do the actual prescribing. We refer out for that.
Now, are your services after the initial 3 coverable by regular insurance agencies and programs that many of us have? The Kaisers and all this other.
Right. So we don't directly bill insurance. So if you're on an HMO, then that's probably not something that we're going to be able to help you out with. What we try to do is help folks out on the front end, because we have the sliding scale. And so we try to make sure that whatever the fee is, that it's something that's manageable for you. For those people that have a PPO, we can provide a super bill, right, for reimbursement.
And I guess another question I have would be like, how long are the typical initial assessments? And so say we come in, a family with 2 kids,
Mm-hmm.
aged 12 and 18.
Right. That's a great question. So, typically our sessions are 50 minutes to an hour, depending on the need. And depending on the therapist, quite honestly, we give our therapists and our counselors some latitude about that. With families, a typical scenario, Gabriel, would be we would want to see the family all together first session. And then a second session might be just the parent or just the parents, right? And then the third session would be just the kids. And then the fourth session, we all come back together and decide what are the goals, the shared goals for the work. So it's like, we usually call it's a 3-session assessment process for family work, because we want to make sure we have everyone included. And as you can imagine, in a family of 4, let's say, there might be some that are more bought into the process than others. So part of the family therapist's job is to help everyone understand what is this whole family counseling, family therapy thing about.
And did you mention that these are all in-person therapy sessions, or this can be done via Zoom or Skype as well?
Yeah, so currently we are doing these sessions by Zoom. We're doing individual sessions by Zoom, we're doing couple sessions by Zoom, and we're even doing family sessions by Zoom.
So, I mean, what I wanted to ask was, this is for now, but when things, becomes normal, what is the normal way you follow? Is it an in-person session, or you're thinking of providing tele sessions as well?
That's a great question. So, we were very fortunate in that we already had this telehealth, teletherapy program prior to shelter in place. So we've had the program, it's been a year and a half now, I would say. So as Jodi mentioned earlier, we've had Masons from like around the state doing telehealth with us. And so our plan is that, for, let's say if a family was to start and they were in Sacramento, let's say, we would just continue that telehealth, teletherapy work. There may be a point where the family might want to come in and meet the therapist in person, and that's all, of course, always an option. But I think for ongoing work, it's always a consultative experience where the family gets to consult with the therapist about what's going to be the best fit, right? So if it's teletherapy, then great. If it's a mix sometimes of in-person and telehealth, great. And then sometimes the determination is someone starts off telehealth and then decide, you know what, I actually would rather come in person. And they end up making that trip from wherever they might be.
And have you seen like a lot of people adapting pretty comfortably to go into like telehealth sessions since they are no longer able to come in at the moment?
That's also a great question. I think, well, so we have been working remotely since March 7th. So it's been a while for us. And all of our in-person, so the people that we used to see in person in our clinics in San Francisco and Covina, we offered everyone the option of teletherapy. And the majority of folks have opted for either some form of teletherapy, either Zoom or phone session. So Devin, the answer to the question is, I think people have adapted and they've done it out of necessity. And I think one of the things that we found, a couple of things that we found with our existing clients and families is that people have been surprised at how some things don't skip a beat, through the teletherapy, you know. And also it's sometimes opened up avenues for different kinds of work that somehow having a little bit of distance has allowed, for instance, family members that might have been more reticent or maybe more soft-spoken in person to suddenly kind of express themselves a bit more. And we're seeing this a lot. I'll just speak from my own experiences. I'm seeing this with adolescents especially, because video chat is their medium, right? I mean, they are the expert in this. And so it's really made for really interesting progress in the work.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. You were
Yes.
talking about modalities and different points of view and how to address people that are in crisis from, I think you said, well, you definitely, it was definitely mentioned from a Masonic point of view, or I think you might have even touched on, and I may be wrong, but like this different sexuality orientations and that kind of stuff. Maybe that was brought up. I can't remember if it was brought or not, but definitely the Masonic point of view. So you're able to address people where they can feel need or address whatever crisis they're in and counsel them through their dilemmas through those kind of facets as well. Is that what I gathered from what you had said earlier?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's one of our core values to provide not just culturally competent, but culturally sensitive and culturally celebrating services.
Mm-hmm.
So diversity is a core piece of our work, and we have the ability and expertise to address whatever kind of life issue the person who's coming in for services might want. And if it comes to a point where there might be something that comes in that we don't feel like we have that expertise, then we're not going to pretend as if we do. And we're going to find that person the appropriate referral. But around issues of sexual orientation, I mean, because we're because we see Masons across the lifespan, for example, that is something that gets addressed in our work all the time. So yes, so the short answers would have been yes, and I gave you the longer one.
Well, it was just interesting to hear that, and also hear that you're addressing, therapeutic needs through a Masonic perspective for us. So you're offering traditional, cognitive-based therapy, whatever, type of therapeutic, assistance that you're giving, but to be able to meet people levelly or Masonically is kind of interesting, that kind of perspective as well.
Hey guys.
Hey, Will. So one question I had is for my own, like since we have 3 sessions or 3 free sessions as a Mason, I already have like a counselor that I visit. Is it possible for me to like donate those to like a family member or a friend who might be needing counseling but doesn't have either pre-existing or the benefits for it?
That's a good question. So if it is, if you're wanting a family member to get services, the family member would actually be eligible. And Jodi, maybe you can help me with this, but I think it depends on the closeness of the relationship. But pretty much, if they're a family member, they're going to get those 3 sessions.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it's for Masonic members as well as their family members.
Okay.
So in continuation to that question, so I mean, since the sessions are like of a fixed duration, is there a standard rate that you have, or it varies from cases to cases?
Is there a standard rate in terms of the fee?
Fee, exactly, yes.
So it's a very broad range. What I can tell you is that we, as Jodi mentioned, like we never turn a Masonic family or Masonic affiliated family for lack of ability to pay. Our standard fee for individual therapy, for instance, is $180 in San Francisco. It's different in Covina, but the sliding scale goes down very, very low. I don't know if the director of operations will allow me to tell you what that is. She's not here, but
Well, thank you.
but it's you know, it's in the neighborhood. Let's say the bottom end of the scale is in the neighborhood of a fairly inexpensive copay.
That's too much information right there. Yeah.
Jodi, you're not gonna tell on me.
Very inexpensive.
It's all confidential, so it's okay.
And any other questions? You guys had wonderful questions.
Yes, thank you so much.
You know, I think you can all imagine one of the things that we rely on is word of mouth, you know. So when you hear about us talking about these services, what I think Jodi and I would want you to also keep in mind is any family members or friends of friends that you think might benefit from this, tell them a little bit about us, you know. And within the Masonic community, you know, we go to leadership retreats. We're at annual communication. We come to speak to lodges when we're so graciously invited by guys like you. And it still takes a lot of people being able to talk about our services and being willing to talk about our services for everyone to know that we're here. So it's my not so subtle encouragement for you to all talk to, you know, your other brothers and other people that you think might be interested.
We certainly got you, Doc. We've been kind of putting this out already through our normal modes of communication. And so I'm excited for the follow-up to that communication to really kind of encourage this valuable resource. And this platform that I don't think very many people know that we have access to. And we'll certainly, you know, make sure that your names are out there when we do talk to other lodges. We're a very young, as you can see, active lodge who have relationships with other lodges who are kind of in our same boats, demographics. So absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
You guys, yeah, do you guys have like brochures or things like that you could send us? We actually, in our lodge, we actually have locations where we have, you know, areas of printed material for various organizations.
Yeah, we do. And I will, as soon as we are allowed back in the building,
Yep.
I make sure that we get those out in the mail over to you.
That would be great.
Yes, and I believe if I sent over a virtual brochure, but I can send over a couple different ones as well.
Sure.
If that's helpful to pass out, but we'll make sure we get those in the mail as soon as the law allows us back in.
I was going to say there's no rush on that. We're not in our building either, so when we do get back in,
We'll
having
make sure,
new and fresh material would be great.
Yeah.
we'll make sure that the electronic communication is to all of our different avenues.
Well, thank you all so much for engaging and coming together and having these conversations and pushing that support forward. It's certainly needed, and thank you for all you do to support one another in your communities.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Thank you for all the good work y'all do for humanity and whatnot, because it's and like you said, Sheening, am I saying that right, Sheening?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I think you started out by saying there's no bad way to introduce counseling, or it's not. It's always never. It's something that never hurts people, you know. And so many people, mental health has such a bad stigma with it, you know. And if we invested more time in you know, getting the junk out of our minds, you know, we'd have such better physical health, such happier, more fulfilling lives. And I really appreciate what y'all do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the evening. Stay healthy and be well.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.